Welcome to the Thrive in Fashion podcast, where we explore the role of the fashion buyer, the knowledge and skill sets required for success, and the impact of the role in your retail business. In each episode, you will learn about industry best practice and how the buyer's role is evolving in this ever-changing, fast-paced industry. And now, here is your host, a fashion industry expert with over 20 years of experience, Elisabeth McHale.
The three most dreaded words or letters a buyer can hear must be OTB. These letters have been known to strike fear and terror into the most experienced buyers. But what exactly is OTB and why is it so important in the world of fashion buying? Welcome back to another episode of the Thrive in Fashion podcast. I'm your host, Elisabeth McHale. And today, I'm focusing on a topic that is quite daunting to many, but an essential part for the success of any retail business, and that is the OTB. OTB means open to buy, and in this episode, I want to talk about what it is, how it works, why it's important, and the benefits of managing it effectively. Open to buy refers to the budget that is available to spend in order to meet your planned sales targets for each month or financial period that you're tracking. The key is buying enough stock or inventory to maintain a balance between having just enough stock to meet customer demand and achieve the sales budgets, and avoiding to be in an overstock situation in a planned period. Spending the full season's budget up front is not really advised, as it can result in making too many premature decisions and tying up too much of your budget in unsold goods. I have never known a buyer who had difficulty in spending OTB. On the contrary, keeping control of the budget and overspending is much more difficult. Every business is different in their approach to managing OTB. The percentage allocated to keep aside as open to buy budget depends on how much in-season reactive buying a retailer does, and in turn that depends on the category that you're buying for, the target consumer, the market position, etc. Using an open to buy budget in season has increased significantly over the past decade to reflect the shift in more demand-driven fashion sales. In some fashion retail chains, a smaller percentage of product assortments and ranges are planned ahead of the season, and there is a much larger focus on reactive buying in season just using OTB. In other instances, the OTB can make up 60% of the overall budget for the season. In the past, this may typically have been about 20%, or maybe in some cases actually didn't keep any OTB at all. But the intentional use of the OTB requires having a flexible plan and a much more fluid approach to the control of the departmental finances and budget. Used correctly, it can be beneficial for a retail business. The planned purchases for each month represent the retail value of the stock that the buyer needs to bring in. In most cases, the beginning of the season's planned purchase figure may have already been committed and spent on pre-ordered goods or carryover stock, so from one season to another. The balance of the budget for this season is then spread over the following trading periods, with a percentage left open for the buyer to spend on closer to the season stock or shorter lead time stock. Working with a bigger OTB budget gives buyers and merchandisers the opportunity to delay committing completely to orders, and means they wait and see the initial sales or analyse consumer reaction to products before committing to higher quantities of certain items. Changing trends and more fluid selling seasons means that buyers today are being much more reactive to consumer demands, and with a buy now, wear now approach, adding additional products to the range throughout the selling or trading season. The importance of the OTB plan is that it allows buyers to track and review the confirmed order values versus the month-end planned stock values. The reason this is important is to do with, first of all, having the optimal stock levels. This means that you ensure that there is sufficient stock on hand to meet customer demand and generate the next month's planned sales. It helps balance the need to manage your costs and avoid excess stock. Too much inventory ties up capital and takes up valuable retail space, and adds to warehouse or storage costs, while too little can lead to stock shortages and lost sales. Buyers use the OTB to keep their stock levels in check and ensure that they meet the customer demand, achieve the sales targets without overcommitting. It also helps to control your purchasing costs by setting clear budget limits based on sales forecasts. This curbs any enthusiasm to overspend, particularly on stock that may not sell. Buying more stock does not mean that you will actually sell more stock. Overstocking often leads to markdowns, which in turn erodes your profit margins. Every product you buy should be because you plan on it being a bestseller rather than filling space or filling gaps in your range. Another advantage or another importance of the OTB is that by reading your OTB plans and managing it well means that you will keep your stock as fresh as possible, allowing you to respond quickly to any changes in the market or your customers' preferences. And this agility is what gives you that competitive edge so that you will always be able to have budget to purchase and stock the latest trends while they are still in demand. The basic formula of OTB works as follows. The month-end stock value becomes the next month opening stock value. The opening stock value plus your planned purchases or confirmed delivery value for that month minus any sales values that are achieved and any markdown values that are taken then becomes the new opening stock figure value for the next month. Using the OTB formula ensures that purchasing decisions are based on accurate forecasts and current stock levels. So your buying budget should include your planned sales, markdowns, and closing stock figures. It should be broken down by product category and subclass where required. So for example, in a ladies' wear department, where you're looking at the dress category, that may be subdivided into day dresses, evening, party, summer dresses, whatever categories that you do have or subcategories. As the season progresses, your plan is populated with actual data. If the actual sales figures do not meet the budget targets or estimates, the first thing that a buyer will do is actually review your stock holding and the planned purchases or orders that have been placed and confirm for that period, and then look ahead at future sales plans and commitments and see what actions need to be taken. Regular monitoring of your stock sales and stock levels is really essential because if your sales start to become higher or lower than expected, you will have to adjust your OTB plan. Using a dynamic approach will ensure that your inventory levels remain aligned with the actual sales performance, or at least as close as possible. Being able to read these sheets accurately and plan ahead and ask questions and take decisive action can be the difference between overstocked and huge discounts versus managing your stock and planning your inventory levels well. Your stock turnover is the rate at which your stock is sold and replaced over a period. A higher turnover rate indicates that your stock is being sold really quickly, which is generally a good sign. Understanding this turnover rate will help you to determine what stock you need to keep on hand. But you do need to watch this and see the signs and be able to have or turn on stock and be able to access stock quickly. On the other hand, if a downward sales pattern continues throughout the season, your department will become overstocked, showing a much lower than planned stock turn, and inevitably incur additional markdowns that you hadn't planned to try and move the slower selling goods, which of course results in reduced profits. Sometimes it is a good practice to keep your OTB as a buffer or a way of managing your stock levels in the event of lower than planned sales. Overall, maintaining your healthy stock holding is key. Your budgets and plans are based on estimates, so it's always important to monitor your actual sales and stock holding, or your OTB will be inaccurate. Managing OTB effectively requires a really good combination of good forecasting and planning. And this is where the experience of a buyer and merchandiser can really shine through and really start to understand those products and numbers and how they work together. It is usually the merchandisers who control the overall budget required to deliver the product assortment and ensure that there is a percentage allocated for in-season buying. That's the OTB. But the planning and strategy is usually discussed and agreed with buyers, and any changes are reworked together. Normally, this will happen at least once a month, if not twice a month, in the middle of the month and at the end of the month. In general, buyers use the OTB budget to quickly place orders if unexpected or popular item appears out of the blue. Getting products in stores in season can capitalize on that consumer demand and maximize your profits. Additionally, any in-season OTB is also used to place new orders or perhaps repeats of bestsellers in the same or an additional color. And it's also used to take in split shipments of bigger quantity key lines. Some points to consider in order to manage your OTB effectively are: number one, good forecasting. So accurate sales forecasts are the foundation of a really good OTB plan. Using historical sales data, market trends, and advanced forecasting tools to predict future sales can also help. Don't forget to include things like seasonality, promotions, and market conditions in your forecast. And of course, the most unpredictable one is the weather. However, that we cannot plan ahead for. It is important to keep your current trading conditions in mind and update your plan based on actual performance or change in direction and your inventory levels. Your OTB plan should be flexible enough to adapt to changes in the market. So make sure to review how well the market is performing and understand what activities your competitors may be implementing or even successes that they might be experiencing. Depending on what time in the retail calendar your trading season is in and what events or occasions may be happening or may be coming up, it's important to also plan for these. Understanding fluctuating levels of demand, along with what your target customers want and need, while balancing that with timescales of orders and lead times, is one of the biggest challenges for a buyer. Without a robust supply chain, this implementation won't be successful. You have to have a supply chain setup that will support your business method, and having a strong buyer-supplier relationship in place with trust in suppliers who can manufacture and deliver stock quickly and at short notice is the key to success. This can mean working with suppliers in closer locations to have quicker and shorter lead times, particularly for the delivery of your products. Keep in mind that the consequence of having a more immediate availability and a quicker delivery is that the cost prices are usually higher and the margin made on the items may be lower, but this is offset by the sell-through. Think about it. You're bringing in a product that you know is in high demand, that customers will want to buy it, and by having a higher sell-through and selling at full price, the level of markdown will be lower and the final margin will compensate for the higher cost price. It's something to keep in mind. It's not always about having the lowest price, but think about what your target goal is. On the flip side, failing to manage an OTB effectively can lead to a couple of issues. The first is overstock. This will just tie up your cash in unsold products, leading to increased storage costs and ultimately markdowns. It also means it's taking up valuable retail floor space, taking up space where you could have products that will be selling at a much faster rate. This sort of overstock situation just erodes your profit margins and obviously reduces available cash flow that you don't have OTB. Low stock levels, on the other hand, result in missed sales opportunities and in turn disappointed customers. If a customer comes in and can't find the product or the size that they want, they're liable to leave and shop elsewhere. This just ends up in lost revenue and potentially you may lose that customer. Holding on to old stock can negatively also impact your customer perception and your sales. Old stock takes up that valuable floor space that I mentioned, and it also makes your store appear outdated. For example, imagine a store that allocates a large proportion of the floor space to last season's stock. Not only does this make the store look less appealing, but it also reduces the space available for new trending items that can drive your sales. It's important to regularly review and clear out your old stock. Sometimes even reducing the price or making a huge offer, no matter how low the price is, the customer still won't want it. And the longer you hang on to that old stock, the less satisfactory outcome you will get. Here are some questions to think about when considering your OTB. So firstly, what would you do if a product sells better than planned? So here you need to be prepared to either reorder quickly or consider working with your suppliers to pull forward some deliveries scheduled for a few weeks' time. Having suppliers who can provide a quick turnaround and flexible order quantities is also a great advantage if it means that they can fill that gap for you. What do you do if a product doesn't sell as planned? Having a markdown strategy in place to move slow-selling items will help greatly. Sometimes you have to consider running a promotion or perhaps a bundle offer to move these slow products and to clear inventory and, as I mentioned, create space on the shop floor. How you reach these decisions is based on your reading of your sales data and analysis. It's important to regularly review your performance and adjust the strategy as needed. The benefits of implementing a strong OTB strategy means increased sales, better cash flow, and overall a better customer experience. By stocking the right products, you meet that consumer demand, leading to higher sales. So using your OTB effectively means that you can have the latest trends in stock and attract your customers and drive your sales. Effective stock management frees up capital that can be used to expand the product range or continually bring in new items. Keeping your inventory fresh and relevant improves the customer satisfaction and loyalty. Customers are more likely to return to a store that consistently offers the latest products and trends. Overall, mastering OTB is something that all fashion buyers need to do. They need to understand how the numbers work, how the stock works with the sales and the budget targets to ensure the business remains agile, competitive, and profitable. I always like to think of open to buy like a weighing scales, not the digital ones, but the old-fashioned kind that requires balance on both sides. On one side, you have your sales, on the other, your stock. And the goal is to achieve the correct weight on both sides to maintain a healthy balance. This ensures your business also remains agile, competitive, and profitable. If you would like to learn more about the OTB, there is a full module with examples and templates to download and practice at your own pace in the Thrive in Fashion Buying and Merchandising course. There's a link to this in the show notes. That's all for this episode. I hope you found it useful and informative. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, and share the show. For more of Elisabeth's industry tips and to learn more about how you can develop your buying skills, visit thriveinfashion.com. There you can find show notes for this episode and every episode. Also, register for the Thrive in Fashion program and sign up for weekly news delivered straight to your inbox. Until next time.